Hi there, traders. This is Brad Gilbert with the Daily Market Insight for Friday, the 8th of September. All right, the dollar firmer on solid US data, and China yuan tumbles to 16-year low, right? There's a bit of panic in China, and we do have some more numbers out later today on China's inflation situation. So the markets are pretty easy to sort of work out what's going on. If I just come back to the economic numbers just briefly, right? It doesn't take much when the markets are reacting, especially to the US numbers and jobless numbers, to get some movement, right? So the initial jobless claims, and I've been saying this is like it was a third tier number at best. Now it's very active, right? 216 was the actual number. The range 225 to 240. So below the low, but a low number is good, right? And then you got some productivity numbers and labor costs numbers. Now, these are inconsequential numbers, but when you put it together with a market that's quite sensitive to, dollar numbers at the moment, especially the jobless numbers, it matches up with the jobless claims. The market's going to jump all over that, right? And we haven't seen the dollar take off, but it sort of reinforces just the dollar trend situation. Now, as we come through today's trading, right, there's not a lot on offer, okay? And you just got to recognize that. So maybe like through the Asian session, you got some GDP numbers. I wouldn't be looking at those myself. The German inflation numbers, but mainly the Canadian inflation numbers are the prime time for today, right? And it's going to be a pretty easy one, either looking at dollar CAD or the CAD crosses, and then you've got some of these Chinese numbers coming out later on. So that's where we are, guys. It's all about dollar CAD today. The dollar continues to sort of, reinforce the stronger dollar against a lot of these other instruments. Okay, just the fact, and don't forget, I mean, this is fickle, right? Like I'm talking like 10,000 in the size of the US economy. That is not a big difference. So when we look at the charts and you think, well, it hasn't moved much. No, it hasn't. And that's because the data wasn't strong. What the media services are doing are sort of beating up a really big, strong dollar story. So at the moment, just on the hourly charts, okay, the dollar yen's getting a bit nervous up as it hits towards 150. Dollar CAD slightly higher. And you can see just a little dribble off on a lot of these instruments. Now, sterling sort of picked up and caught up to what was happening on euro. Aussie's dancing around this longer term trend line there at 63.80. And the Kiwi mirroring the Aussie, right? So generally for those new traders, right? So at least 90% of the time, euro and sterling are extremely closely correlated. And same with Aussie and Kiwi. Now, the four of these generally work together, but that's where the synchronicity comes from. They sort of match up, euro, sterling, Aussie, and Kiwi, and the rest of the dollar pairs there as well. So all you got to do, we know next week, right? We've got the inflation numbers, right? If I just bring you back to the calendar, like don't lose sight of what's going on if you haven't had a trade this week, right? The inflation numbers, the Canadian employment numbers could potentially give us some sort of directional trade. Short term, it's Friday. The market's going to be squaring up pretty early. And then you should start to be looking at next week already. And it's going to kick into gear pretty quick. On Tuesday, we've got a range of data. Australia, UK, or Europe will be the best sessions. Then you've got on Wednesday the inflation numbers, and that's like the big D-Day. That's where these trends will either stay in play and the dollar will really take off, or the dollar will fall if these numbers are seriously weak. The worst outcome here is a number as expected, right? That just diffuses everything, and we sit here waiting for the next numbers. So anyway, next week is a big opportunity, and that's pretty much it. Just follow the market, look for the simplest trading opportunities. Right now, the clocks are, the clocks are resetting, so you don't have the clear setup here on the screener. But equities down, okay. You're looking for euro, sterling, Aussie, Kiwi to continue lower, and the dollar pairs to rally. Coming in end of the week, will there be a bit of squaring up? Potentially, right? But the smart play is to focus on the CAD and the CAD crosses. That's the key fundamental release today. Don't forget to check out oil. It's obviously going to come into play there as well. All right, guys, that's it from me. Have a good one. All the very best. Cheerio.